Whew, tell you what, Minnesota's definitely thrown some angles at us. I even got the heater on here in the garage as I decompress after a series of guide trips. You know what, if cold weather is something you're not a fan of this year in Minnesota, especially here in central and northern Minnesota, you're probably not having a whole lot of fun. It's cold out. We have to be prepared for it. The conditions call for being prepared for it, not just from a fishing standpoint and being productive, but a safety standpoint, right? I know a lot of people that have gotten frostbite this year. I have gotten a little bit of it myself. Even being prepared and being careful, sometimes it creeps up on you. So first and foremost, as we touch on some midwinter tactics, I'm going to quickly go over some safety stuff and some things to stay warm. As you can see, I got my heater behind me. I'm playing with the Buddy Flex. Love this thing for Mr. Heater. But any heater, whether it's an older Buddy, a sunflower of some type, it's important to have that heat source with you if you need it. Extra propane tanks, even if you don't think you're going to use them. Again, it comes down to safety. I always have propane tanks in my truck and a heater along. And right now I'm just taking the chill off myself as we chat here in the garage and go over some things. In terms of clothing and apparel, that kind of stuff, base layer, good pair of socks, gloves, neck gaiter. There's a few things that I put on religiously. You've probably seen it in my pictures and my videos, is a neck gaiter. This keeps the hot air from emitting from my body. It traps it in, keeps me nice and warm. I can also tuck it up over my face and I can block some of that cold air from getting into my lungs. So neck gaiter, relatively inexpensive. They're 20 bucks or less. This is the Ice Armor Renegade neck gaiter. I love it. I wear it all the time. I buy them for my kids as well. A hand muff. I think this is underutilized. This is just an insulated fleece line hand muff. It snaps around my waist. Again, if you've seen my pictures or videos, you probably know exactly what I'm talking about. And inside the hand muff, I take these little hand warmers. There's 2 to a pack. I open them up, shake them a bit, throw them inside this hand muff. Now I got a heater on my body, so if my hands get cold or whatever, I can throw it in there. It's also a great place to throw your maggots, your bait puck and maggots, if you're using live bait, because they won't freeze up in these extreme cold conditions. So it's almost like a little heater inside there. It helps me take care of my hands and all kinds of stuff. So hand muff, super easy, and you're not holding it. It's a hands-free piece of equipment. Still shocks me how many anglers do not rely on something to this effect to keep their hands warm, because on these cold days, I'll tell you what, these hand muffs are worth their weight in gold. And then a towel, just a simple towel. A lot of anglers don't have these as well, and it's just, your hands oftentimes get cold, one, because they're exposed to the air, right, if it's windy. But really when they get wet, you land a fish, you rebait, whatever it might be, your hands get cold, then they get cold and they freeze quicker. So just literally taking the moisture off your hands can be enough to keep your hands relatively warmer on cold days. So, you know, these towels are pretty inexpensive. Micro fleece towel, I got a bag of them I keep with me. Don't throw them away. A lot of guys and gals get them all gooped up with fish and then they chuck them. You know, take these little plastic clips off, they pop right off, throw them in the wash, do a load of towel wash or whatever, and they'll be good to go. So keep these on you. It's amazing how much they can keep you warm as well. Before we get into the fishing aspect, another thing that I think is important, having power on the ice. You know, we talked about Bold North boxes. I use amp batteries and all my Vexstars and stuff, super efficient. But this is a thing I've been using recently as well. It's just super simple. You can buy this adapter from Milwaukee. Super simple piece. I bought it at, I think, Northern Tool. They sell them for like 20 bucks. And all it does is it clips on the top of the same battery I'm using to power my drill plate K-bit combo for cutting holes through the ice. Now, you can see there, I can plug in a USB port. I got power on my phone. In these colder conditions, your phone dies quicker, all that kind of stuff. Again, everything from safety to just having the tools at your fingertips to call out or do the job or communicate with people. This is simple, super efficient, super effective. So that's a cool accessory that I've been using for quite a few years, to be honest, and it works very well. Now, the fishing side of things, you know, we talked briefly on bait, and I'm not a big live bait fisherman. In fact, most of what you see when we talk panfish world is going to be all artificials. However, when I'm doing a catfish thing or walleyes or tip-ups, it's important, excuse me, it's important that you keep your bait fresh. And I've actually been using a Grizzly cooler. There's a lot of brands out there, whether it's Grizzly, Yeti, Angle. A lot of brands make a good quality cooler. And you can see right here, I got my bait inside this. And why am I showing you this? Is it keeps it insulated. So just like I would keep my stuff cold in the summertime, I can keep it from freezing in the wintertime. So I keep my fatheads, my sucker minnows, things like that inside this 20 series Grizzly, close it up. It's not that heavy. It's got a nice big handle on it. And I can bring that in and out of my fish house. I can bring that in and out of the garage. I can keep it fresh. I can do all that kind of stuff. It's super nice for me to be able to keep that stuff fresh and cool. It's very important that your bait is not frozen. It's not one solid chunk of ice. So make sure that you keep that in mind. And if you keep it in the garage in these cold days, if your garage isn't heated like mine, check on your bait because it can freeze rock solid, and you don't want that either. So in terms of the fishing conditions, a lot of things happening right now. We have been having to deal with cold conditions. Another thing, tip-ups. We mentioned tip-ups. This is just a sub-zero grease. Put this on your tip-up, helps it from freezing up. The last thing you want to have happen when you have set lines in the water, tip-ups, and you can't deal with them all the time in these cold conditions, they freeze up. But what you can prevent is the mechanisms from freezing up. So now I can still have a fish bite, trip the flag, do what it's supposed to do. So I've been using this sub-zero grease just to lube up the bottom of the tip-ups, all the parts that are going to move, keeps things moving. It helps some of the manufacturer grease from freezing up. So that's one other tip I've done this year with these colder conditions. So how are we catching our fish? You know, it's not always easy to stay mobile. I'm a big guy. I preach big guy in mobility. I preach mobility all the time. My clients know that. My friends know that. My family knows that. Move and run and gun. So we can't do that all the time when it's super cold. So one thing I really try to push on the people that I've been talking with is, you know, if you have spots that are productive, you have spots you feel are holding fish, you know, and you want to get out there at sunrise, be on the most productive area you can. Camp out on an area where you feel like there's more fish moving through so you can sit on top of them. And then as the weather warms up, do your hole hopping. Now, I would encourage you still to bundle up, practice some of these techniques and these clothing tips so you can be out in the elements. I've been out on -20 this year, 0 degrees, -10 with lots of wind, whatever it might be, and stayed relatively warm. You just have to deal with freezing holes and things like that. Those are some things we cannot control. But some things we're using to catch fish, I'm still being pretty aggressive. You know me, I'm not going to beat a dead horse on what I'm catching my crappies on and even bluegills. A pinhead minnow. Pinhead minnow is great because it not only catches fish, but I can fish fast, efficiently, and quick. And when it's cold out and I have to be wearing gloves, I'm not worried much about finessing, little bump on the spring bobber. I'm working this pinhead fairly aggressively in the water column. It allows me to keep my gloves on. It allows me to be more efficient in colder conditions. This pinhead minnow, weighing 1/16 ounce, also plummets through slushy water. So if my holes start to freeze up a bit and I got to put my toe in there and slush it around, instead of trying to feather down a number 14 or number 12 or number 10 tungsten, I can just drop this pinhead right through that slushy spot. And I'm not using maggots, I'm not using anything to tip this with, which again gives me the added advantage in cold conditions. So using small spoons, micro spoons for pan fishing, whether it's crappie, sunfish, perch, especially midwinter, in my opinion, is something you should all consider because it catches fish and it allows you to be more productive and more efficient. Otherwise, I'm using tungsten and plastics. My two go-tos so far this season, again, Dropkick, number 10, glow red, or number 12 glow red Dropkick. I'm using the actual watermelon red flake. I don't know if you can see that. Watermelon red flake Mackie minnow has been my go-to. That contrasting color combo here in the Twin Cities and the Metro anywhere has really caught a lot of fish. And I'm also using a swirl drop, white and orange, white and black, whatever it might be. And I've actually fallen in love with that chunky. I've done a few videos on that chunky, and I get anglers to laugh at me until they come out and fish with me and see how I'm rigging it. I'm not going to be able to do it well on camera. I'm taking a piece off of the head of that. You can see I don't have the entire top portion, so it's flat. And I'm threading it on there, and it has just a really natural, you know, swimming action. And it works well in the weeds. Anything under 15 feet of water, I found this to excel, honestly, at times even more than that minnow. Just a different profile, different look. The fish haven't seen it, and it's catching a bunch of fish. So that's been my two go-to jigs. Number 12 and number 10, glow red Dropkick. I've also used the black and chartreuse or pink and white. And then that swirl drop has been a good one for me as well. But there's all kinds of good options out there. But you can see I'm fishing efficient. I'm fishing plastics, I'm getting down quick, and I'm chasing these fish. That's important. This time of year, midwinter, most of these panfish are doing one of two things. They're in the basins, which is deeper water, main lake basins, holes, whatever it might be. I prefer not to fish those areas myself. Sometimes you don't have a choice. I prefer to fish in shallow water, under 15 feet where there's weeds. I'm a firm believer that the biggest fish, especially crappies and bluegills, are going to relate to the weeds all year long, even in the wintertime and under the ice. I think it's very important to see that. So they're shallow, they're in these weed areas, and they're chasing down a whole bunch of fish. So plastics and spoons have really helped me do that. How are we catching other things? I'll touch on walleyes briefly. I haven't really fished walleyes much in the last few weeks. And when I have, I've gone after them pretty aggressively with spoons and a minnow head, or honestly, a tikka minnow, like a 1/8 to a 3/16 ounce, and I'm just ripping them. I'm just chasing down those fish. I'm getting after them. Again, I'm being aggressive. I have gloves on my hands. I'm outside. I'm hole hopping. Haven't really bundled up inside of a fish trap much. I've used the hard shack a handful of times as a base camp, and been a great place to retie, to network, to talk, to strategize, and then chase down the fish with presentations like this. So the aggressive presentations have caught more fish for me. Otherwise, in terms of the catfish world, I've been doing a lot of catfishing, answered a ton of questions from all of you. Thank you so much. That's pretty much been inundating my inbox, has been catfish conversations the last few weeks. And I'm catching them a couple different ways, really. One, spoons, 1/8 ounce spoons. This you can tell this one's been beat up. You can see that feather on that flutter spoon's been beat to death. 1/8 ounce flutter spoon, minnow head on each one. You saw the meat chandelier. I posted a picture of it a couple days ago. So now you know exactly what I was using and what I was targeting. I saw all kinds of people give responses on what I was using, because I asked the question, what do you think I'm fishing for today? And of course we had the catfish, we had the bird, we had the pike, we had the walleye, we had all kinds of stuff. It was indeed catfish. So that's what we were chasing down. Spoons are really good. And I'm using, again, that limber tip. I'm using that dead meat rod so I can watch those fish loaded up. And I'm larger guides, it's colder outside, and I'm chasing down these fish. And I can do it with gloves on. So I've been targeting cats. You have to be on the move to catch these fish. I've been outside after them. This has been a good presentation. I'm using 5 or 6 pound frost mono and red metered, and I'm using that 1/8 ounce leech flutter spoon, or I'm using an 1/8 ounce guppy spoon or something to that effect. Something that profile, not big and gaudy. A lot of anglers think you got to fish a big gaudy spoon to catch these cats. It's actually the opposite. Larger panfish stuff, small walleye stuff is what's getting these cats to bite. So that's been really good. And then the other one that has really sealed the deal, oh, you can still see frozen piece of minnow still stuck on there. I have myself a minnow head. You can see that thing stuck on there. That's what we were catching some big cats on. Just a drop double XL, the same thing you saw me talk about when we hopped in on board review for walleyes, is what we're catching big cats on. So just a minnow head and a drop double XL when these cats are finicky, and I'm just using a medium light or medium action Scepter carbon rod, 5 pound test line, and I've actually kind of been really falling in love with that new Kedgick reel. So this has been a great opportunity to catch these catfish, and something that these fish I don't think have really seen, not to let the cat out of the bag, no pun intended, but it's caught a lot of fish. So 1-2 punch spoon, large panfish jig is what sealed the deal on these catfish. They're coming through. They're oftentimes a negative this time of year. We've seen the fluctuation in weather, pressure changes. It really impacts the cats, I think, more than any other species. So we've had to downsize to glorified panfish tackle to catch these cats. Been a lot of fun. You know, I think we're going to actually see some warm weather this week, which I don't know if we're going to know what to do with ourselves. I've just pretty much prepared for brutally cold conditions. Almost every day I've ice fished the last few weeks, it seems like. And that's okay. Hey, we're in Minnesota, right? It's winter. It's going to be cold. You know, kind of deal with it, right? So do some of these things. It's midwinter. Keep your body safe. Keep your body warm. That's the most important. Do good bait management, be efficient, find systems and ways to fish so you can be effective with gloves on and outside and hole hop, and you'll catch more fish. So we're here in the midwinter period. It's the 2nd week of February. We still got well over a month for most of the ice belt up here to fish and get out there and chase down some stuff. A few more weekends, couple more weekends left to game fish season, whether it's walleyes or pike, whatever it might be. Get out there, have some fun, and then it's nothing but panfish here in Minnesota, and we'll do that as well. So good luck the rest of the season. Go catch them.